Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Artists First World Radio Network, home of the best new music you've never heard and home of the best new talk shows you need to hear. Please don't forget to visit our archives page at www.artistfirst.com, where you can hear all our past shows for free and on demand. You were tuning into High School Football America. This show airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information about the show and to listen to past shows for free, please visit artistfirst.com/jefffisher.htm. And don't forget to follow Artist First on Twitter. You can find us under the Twitter handle at @artist_first. And now on to the program.
Good evening, high school football fans, and welcome to High School Football America for January the 12th. I am Jeff Fisher, founder and editor-in-chief of highschoolfootballamerica.com. Great show for you tonight. Going to build on the momentum from last week when we had our National Player of the Year announced. It was Jonathan Gray from Aledo High School in Texas. And tonight, in about 20 minutes from now, we are going to announce our National Coach of the Year, someone that was on the show earlier this year and had just an incredible turnaround of a season. Also on the show for you tonight, we're going to go to Texas and talk with Jim Rackley, the former head coach at Judson, just retired a couple of weeks ago. He made that announcement. We're going to talk to Jim about his incredible 11 years at the school, 1 state championship and 2 runner-up finishes. We'll then head to New Jersey and talk with Vinnie Ascolese of North Bergen, retiring after 50 years, the last 39 at North Bergen High School. He won 9 state championships, make that 8, and he also retires as the third winningest coach in New Jersey history. We'll wrap up the show with Mike Brennan of the Big 33 game. Mike is the head coach at Blue Mountain High School in Pennsylvania, and the Big 33 game is played annually in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It pits the Pennsylvania Stars against the Ohio Stars, the best 33 in each state. And what makes this game interesting is the fact that of every Super Bowl that's been played, at least one alum from the Big 33 game has played in each and every Super Bowl, and we'll talk to Mike Brennan about the roster, which was just announced for the Pennsylvania Stars a little bit later in the show. Want to thank our sponsors tonight. NCSA Athletic Recruiting is here. Don't forget to go to highschoolfootballamerica.com and check out NCSA's banner there. Click on that, and you can go right to their website where you can get a free profile for your son or daughter, and it's really the first step to trying to get them fit up with the right school for an academic and athletic scholarship. Also want to thank Blitz Group for being here. They're a proud sponsor of High School Football America and our media strategist. For more information, please go to their website at blitzgroupllc.com. Also, the High School Rudy Awards, honoring the inspirational high school football players who best define the 4 C's of character, courage, contribution, and commitment. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com. And this Sunday in Parade Magazine and on their website, highschoolrudyawards.com, we will find out who the winner is of the $7,500 athletic and academic scholarship. There are 12 finalists, and you can go to highschoolrudyawards.com to learn about the 12 finalists and vote for your favorite one. And we're also being sponsored tonight by the National High School Coaches Association, and the mission of the NHSCA is to provide leadership and support to coaches, administrators, and their programs. For more information, please go to their website at nhsca.com. Want to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going deep into the heart of Texas. We're going to Converse, Texas, to talk with Jim Rackley, the former head coach at Judson High School, wrapping up 4 decades in the coaching business. That and more when we come back. This is High School Football America.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Welcome back to High School Football America. If you've been with us through the 2011 season, you know we've had some of the greatest coaches in America on this show. Just to name a few, we don't want to single anybody out. We had John McKissick. God bless his 86-year-old heart. He will be coaching his 62nd season next year at Summerville in South Carolina. 6 wins away from 600. We had J.T. Curtis from Louisiana on, and we had 3 coaches that won 400 games. And those were the highlights of 2011. And now that the season season's over, and we're going to 2012. A couple of great coaches are announcing that they're done. They're ending their career, and one of those great coaches out of the state of Texas, Jim Rackley, who was at Judson for a number of years, has announced he will be stepping down at the end of the month, and Coach Rackley joins us right now to talk about his wonderful career at Judson High School and almost 4 decades in the coaching business. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, Jeff, glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I spoke to your athletic director, Mike Miller, before we got this going. He said, your audience is going to love Jim Rackley. This is one special guy. He's got a lot of emotion. He wore it on his sleeve. So you got some pressure here from Mike. He says you're going to do a great job on this interview.
Well, that's all right. I'm used to that.
Okay, well, let's, you finished your career at Judson, 101 wins, 37 losses. You have a career record of 137, 71, and 1, but you really made a mark at Judson High School in Converse, Texas. So let's talk a little bit about your career there, if you can kind of summarize it. You won 1 state championship, runner-up twice to Euless Trinity. So tell me a little bit about the tradition you feel that you built over your last stint there with Judson.
Well, Jeff, I came to Judson in 1980 and with Coach Frank Arnold. And when Coach Arnold got here, we wanted to put in really a simple philosophy. If you get the kid better, if you get the kid to be a good person, a good man, a good student, and develop his character traits so that he's honest and dependable and works hard. If you get that right, then you get a chance to have a great football team. And so that's really what we've been trying to do ever since 1980. When I came in 2001, my job, I felt like a guy that was getting a baton on a relay race. And I just want to keep that baton going around the track in the right direction as it's been done in the past. So that's what I try to do. We work hard to develop the character of our young men. In fact, we spend a week at the beginning of our program. We spent 1 week just in the classroom laying the foundation for that. Then we go into boot camp where we practice the things that we've talked about. And so, that's the thing that I hope that I've done the most. And we've been, fortunate enough to be successful. As you mentioned, we've won 1 state championship. We played for it 3 times, and we've been successful every year. We've been in the playoffs since that time since I've been here. I've been 11 seasons. We've been in the playoffs every season except twice. So I think we won 5 district championships. So we feel that we've been successful, but the main success is not necessarily the wins, but the lives that we've been able to work to change and to build.
Which is the real key to all of that. We were talking with your athletic director before about you following D.W. Rutledge in 2001, right. Guided your school to 4 state titles. Tell me a little bit about the pressure back then. Obviously, you've cut your own swath of success, but what was it like coming in there and following a legend?
Well, Coach Rutledge had done just an incredible job, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that staff, do most of that. It's just a great coach, very intense, very, just had a very powerful presence. And I was, and his, the way that he worked with kids, same way Coach Arnold, that I was talking about before. I mean, the first thing we wanted to do was to change the lives of kids to be better. So when I got the range, I just felt that I had to keep things going in that direction. I felt that the Lord would guide me and direct me and give me the wisdom for the most part that I would need. I just felt very humbled and honored to be able to continue the program. And so, I don't know. I guess you might say there was pressure, but I never did feel it. The only pressure I felt was I had to go out there every day and be the best that I could be, and get those kids to be the best that they could be, and everything else would work out for the best. And that's so I really never felt a great deal of pressure.
Talking with Jim Rackley, the head coach at Judson. He is in that position until he retires at the end of the month. And Coach, let's talk a little bit about your decision to step down. You guys had an 8-3 season this year, lost to eventual state semifinalist Madison in the first round of the playoffs. What went into your decision to step away from the head coaching ranks?
I have always been a very active coach on the field. I mean, I would get up and run with the kids. I felt that, if you're going to teach them to play hard, you got to coach them hard, and you got to work hard. When our coaching staff, I said, when we come off the field, every player ought to be wringing wet with sweat, and every coach ought to be wringing wet with sweat. You got to work hard to get kids to work hard. I've had some health issues, and this past year I've had some knee problems, and then this past year, about midway through the season, I got busted up in practice and busted my hip up. And the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, I could not run, and I could not demonstrate, and I could not do the things that I have always felt that a coach needed to be able to do. And so right now I'm in a rehab deal. I just felt like I physically could not coach like I liked to coach. And it aggravated me and frustrated me, and I was depressed as a result.
Well,
anything that bothered me a lot.
Yeah, well, you're leading by example. It's not the first time you had to deal with that. For the listeners that don't know, back in 2008, I read you had quintuple bypass heart surgery, but you didn't miss a whole lot of time. So, tell the listeners about your own toughness to keep on that sideline and keep teaching those kids. What kept you going at that point after the heart surgery?
Well, after that, I was able to come back. The doctor gave me a clean bill of health. Actually, when I came back after that, I had more energy and more fire, I guess you'd say, because everything sort of cleaned out and I was ready to go. And so I really felt better. And I talked to the doctor about the stress that's related to my profession. He said that he didn't think that was much of a factor in my situation. So I felt I could get back there and coach, and I just felt like I hadn't completed the task that I wanted to do. And so anyway, I stayed in it. Now it's a different feeling. So my health. Another factor in my decision now, to be real honest about it, is my wife has been, ever since I've been married, I've been a coach. She's known nothing but a coach's been married to a coach, and so and that's 38 years of marriage. Mm-hmm. And so, from August to December every year, she's almost a widow. And so I felt I owed her some things, and being able to be home more and be around her more. I think she certainly deserves that. She's been a great coach's wife. And so that's part of it. I got 8 grandkids. They're all up and growing, and I want to be up where I can see them play ball and do different things and be more of a part of their life. The downside with coaching is it is a very consuming job. It consumes a lot of your time, a lot of your thoughts and energy and focus, and I just felt like it's and some other things out there I wanted to do and be a part of.
And there's no pressure on being a Texas high school football coach either. We all know that at this point. Tell me a little bit. And I read in one of the San Antonio papers that your speech to your players to let them know that you were stepping down was a tough one. At the beginning, one of the articles says how you're a tough guy. You stick out your lower jaw, it quivers, and you're not afraid to cry. So tell me about the speech to your players when you said this is it for Coach Rackley.
Well, whenever I'm going to tell them something that's, down to the heart level, I say, all right, fellas, come on in here. This is going to be a father-son talk. And so that's kind of how I started this talk.
And then how did it go from there? How emotional was it? Can you give me a little bit of the reaction from your players? How do you feel you handled something that probably was not the speech in the locker room you were ever looking to make?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time saying it now.
Well, I understand that. You can take your time.
Well, anytime I get to thinking about them, I think about the times on the practice field and the way they responded to the demands that we've made of them, we are fortunate here, Judson. We get to coach the best kids in America. I'm convinced of that. I love these boys like they were my own. We practice hard. We coach them hard. We love them hard, and they respond in a great way. At that meeting, I just, I love to kind of walk around as I'm talking with them like that and kind of rub them on the head and, mess up their hair a little bit and get down there and hug them. And it was a tough meeting.
Yeah.
And I just want them to know that I will always remember them and I will always love them. And if I can ever be of any help to them throughout their life, I will always be there for them. And it was one of those kind of deals.
Yeah, and I can certainly hear it in your voice, and I appreciate everything you're going through to talk about this. I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed in doing this radio show and getting to know coaches and players across America. When you get to talk to the people before you get to talk to the coach or the player, that tell you how special these are. And like I said, your athletic director Mike Miller was definitely talking about that with you. So is it unfair now to kind of have you go into the Wayback Machine and look at the last 11 years? I mean, I know it's hard to say one team was special or a couple of players, but and any of those teams stand out more than the others? Not to disrespect another one, but any of those thoughts on some of your teams?
Well, you hate to ever compare teams and things like that. Every team was special. Every team was made up of good boys that worked hard and did their best. Some achieved more success than the others, but that told our guys this year. We ended our season on a frustrating note. We thought we were going to go the distance, and we lost to Madison in a 1-point game, and late in the game, it was just a tough loss. But as I told our kids, I said, the measure of whether or not we're going to be success is going to be played out down through the years of each of y'all's lives. What kind of a husband will you be? What kind of father will you be? What kind of an impact are you going to make on your communities and on our society and on the United States of America? Is our country going to be better because of you? That's going to determine whether or not we were successful, because those are really the things that count the most. And so every one of our teams have been special. It's just hard for me to compare things like that.
Yeah, and it's always an unfair question, but I sometimes ask it just to see. I had one coach who said, I'm going to tell you what it is, and now I'm going to have to deal with this for the next 15 years that I named one team better than the other. We're talking with head coach Jim Rackley of Judson, stepping down after a wonderful career of 101 wins, 37 losses, one state title, a couple of runners-up at Judson. And before we let you go here, I think I also read you said you're not going to just kind of plop yourself down in your easy chair and put your feet up. So what does the future hold for you?
Well, I am a rancher. I've got a ranch out here outside of San Antonio. I was raised out on a farm and a ranch when I was, growing up. I've down through my coaching years, I've always, in one way or another, that's been my outlet and a way to kind of get away and relax. And so I'm going to be doing that full time. And there's some things in that profession, that industry, I think, where I can make an impact to improve some of the practices of being a steward to the land. And so, anyway, I'm excited about that. And so that's part of my work and what I'll be doing there.
That's your retirement. I don't think rancher is a real true retirement. And two last questions before I let you go here. So when the clock and the calendar starts ticking toward the inevitable preseason and all that, are you going to sneak yourself around the field at all, or you think you're going to have to just keep it a complete retirement where you don't even go near that football field for a little bit?
Well, I'm going to have to stay away. I will stay away from the Judson for a while. I think it's best, and I'm just not. The new coach, he's got full control of everything, and I'm not a distraction in any way. But what I do want to do, Judson, it's a big school. I grew up in a small Class 3A school. But I'd love to go back out and see some of the smaller schools play where the whole town just packs up and they turn the lights off when they're going to an away game and everybody in the community is at the game. I'd like to get back and see some of those type games. We got a great fans here at Judson. We play in front of usually about 5,000 to 6,000 people, and our side is usually packed. And but I'd kind of like to go out and see some of the smaller programs playing. It'd be kind of fun to do.
No, that's you're talking my language. I love that small town stuff. That's the good stuff. And you kind of mentioned the fact that you're going to stay away a little bit for now. Mark Soto has been named the interim coach, and I know in one of the articles you had recommended him. Tell me a little bit about Mark and why you think he's a real good fit to continue the tradition.
Well, Mark played football here. Graduated in 1991. Played linebacker for Coach Rutledge. Coach Rutledge was the head coach at that time, the defensive coordinator and linebacker coach. He played for Coach Rutledge. He came back here in 2000. Then he got into coaching. He came back on my staff in 2005. Helped us go to 2 state playoff runs. He's been a great coach. Mark Soto, he lives and breathes Judson football. I don't think I've ever been around anyone who had a greater love and a greater passion for our kids and for our program and for what we are trying to do here at Judson. And he exudes our program. Mm-hmm. They could not go out and get anyone that would do a better job of that. The last 5 or 6 years, we have had a lot of changes here at Judson. Judson's built a new school. We've opened up a new high school. Our enrollment has been cut back quite a bit. We've had new coaches as a result of that new school. We've had a lot of transition with the administration of the school and our principal. And now, this past couple of years, we moved into a new high school facility here at Judson. There's just been a lot of changes take place, but the consistency of our program has not changed. And I think a lot of that is due to Mark Soto and his enthusiasm and the job that he's done. And I recommend him for the job 100%. I don't think they cannot go out and get a better guy to do the job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got to continue the tradition. And then the last one, whenever I get somebody on the line here that has been around coaching for so long, 4 decades basically, I always like to kind of get a barometer of where someone that's seen all these changes with the young men that play this game. What do you think about the state of high school football specifically in the state of Texas and America? Do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you like what is going to happen over the next decade or so now that you're going to be away from it? What's your gut check on that?
Well, let me tell you this, Jeff. Here is a thing that's happened in my career. When I first started coaching, this goes back to 1970. If I went out on the field and I could watch kids work out and practice and was around them for a few weeks, I could count on one hand that you could see the difference in the kids that were coming from a busted home. Where they didn't have 2 parents at home, and there was something not right at their home. But you could count them because they didn't know how to act. They didn't know what discipline was. They didn't know what hard work was. Today, if I go out on the field and I watch kids for a while, I can count on one hand the ones that come from a family where he's got 2 parents, where it's solid, where there's no dysfunctional part of the family. Mm-hmm. The family makeup has deteriorated so critically, so much in the past 40 years that I've been coaching. It's just unbelievable. It makes coaching that much more important. I think a lot of our guys, I had our kids, I said, I give them a card where they fill out and say, how many, so I can get a phone number and talk to their mom and their dad and meet their mom and their dad. But what 60% of our kids, though, do not have a dad that they're living with today. And that is a scary thing. I think the coaching profession has got to step up to the plate. Somebody has got to be that kid's dad. He needs a role model in his life of someone who is honest, dependable, someone he can trust, someone he knows that he can go to for help if he's has a problem. He needs that type of man in his life. coaches don't do it, I'm not sure who's going to do it. Our society, I think, is really hurting as a result of what's happened in the families. And if we don't get it turned around, if we don't change it and get going the other direction, then we're going to have it's going to hurt our country, and it's going to make it tough. So that's, and another part of my plan for the future is to help the Texas High School Coach Association, which I've been fortunate enough to be a member of, to be a president of that association. I'm, of course, a past president, but to help continue to influence Texas high school coaches and coaches around the United States to understand the tremendous obligation and duty they have to their young men, and to change lives for the better, and to be that role model that is missing in so many kids' lives. So that's where we're at today.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think that, coaches are coaches / fathers at this point, and I just applaud what you've been able to do through the course of the years and sticking with it. We're seeing it become more of a young man's game on the head coaching side and all that, as you have to make that transition. But people like yourself are going to be missed, and I thank you so much for taking the time tonight to talk to us and introducing our listeners to Judson, and good luck in that easy ranching retirement thing you're going to do.
Well, if it doesn't start raining down here, we're going to...
Well, we got snow in Chicago. I'll send some of the snow from Chicago down to you today. How's that?
We'll take moisture in any form down here.
Well, Coach, best of luck, and congratulations on just a wonderful career.
Okay. Jeff, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
For honoring me with this.
Well, thank you. This is Jim Rackley that we've been talking to. You're welcome. That's Jim Rackley of Judson High School, stepping down after 11 years at the helm, a 101-37 record, a state title, 2 runners-up. Just a wonderful job, and as I said to him during the interview, a lot of people that I talked to leading up to it had nothing but words of praise, and you could hear during his talk about talking to his players why he's a special man. That's going to do it for this segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to name our Coach of the Year. He's someone that was on the show last year and did an incredible job that we'll talk about when we come back. This is High School Football America.
You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you can make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Welcome back to High School Football America. Now it's time to honor another individual across America for a great 2011 season. Last week we honored Jonathan Gray, the great running back from Aledo High School in Texas, with the National Player of the Year award, and it's now time to announce who our Coach of the Year is. He's someone that we had on the show back in just before the season began in the state of Michigan back in August. His name is Al Fracassa. He is Michigan's all-time winningest coach, and Al has put a lot of wins up on the board. His record after this season stands at 405 victories, 115 defeats, and 7 ties. In November, on Thanksgiving Day weekend, Brother Rice defeated Lowell for the Division II state championship, 24-14. It was the 7th state championship for Coach Fracassa, and what gets him to the top of the stack as our National Coach of the Year is the fact that it wasn't the greatest regular season. They were 4-4 at one point. They squeak into the playoffs at 5-4, but they go on a 6-game win streak and come all the way back to win that state championship. And because of that great run this year, Brother Rice's Al Fracassa out of Michigan is the High School Football America National Coach of the Year. And we want to take you back to that interview back in August, a little snippet to learn a little bit more about Coach Al Fracassa, who loves his school, loves his players, and loves coaching on the sidelines.
The thing that's important for coaches, young coaches especially, is to be themselves and to try to be able to take the good things that they learn from other coaches and try to present them to their players. I think the big thing about coaches today, they have to care for their players. If they care for their players, that's 95% of it all. Most coaches know enough football to put a football team out there, but taking care of the players and caring for them and finding out about what they like and what they don't like and things like that. You have to work with those kind of kids these days, and if you do that, you have a chance to have a good football team, in my opinion.
Sure, and I know you're going to be modest about the next question, but I mentioned you're 5 away from 400 victories. What does that mean personally to you to have a number like that?
Well, I'll tell you, it tells you how old you're getting. And, I've lost over 100 games, too, so, I've been up there. I'm going on 79 in November, and I don't know if I'm going to last as long as Joe Paterno, but I still love the game, and I'm still healthy enough to go out there and, try to teach some fundamentals football to my boys, and I'm still caring about that, and I just, I don't know what else I would do in life, tell you the truth. I just enjoy being around young people and try to make men out of boys, I guess.
Again, that was our interview with Brother Rice coach Al Fracassa, Michigan's winningest football coach. 405 victories for him and his 7th state championship this year when they defeated Lowell for the state title. Congratulations to Al Fracassa, just a great coach, a great molder of young men, and very deserving of this honor. So, again, that was the interview that we did with him back in August. If you want to listen to any of the interviews we did during the 211 season, just go to artistfirst.com. Click on High School Football America, and you'll see all of our archives. They're free and on demand for all of the shows that we've done so far this year. Going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to another longtime coach. He just retired. His name is Vinnie Ascolese from North Bergen High School in New Jersey. He's the 3rd winningest coach in the state of New Jersey, and he's going to come back and talk about not only his incredible 50-year career that has now come to an end, but the way it ended. It was very Ted Williams-esque. That and more when we come back. This is High School Football America.
Look around you. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. faces hunger. It's not always easy to see the signs, but in this land of plenty, there are kids who don't know where they'll get their next meal. Join Share Our Strength and take the pledge to end childhood hunger here in America by 2015. Learn how at NoKidHungry.org. Their next meal could come from you.
Welcome back to High School Football America. I want to send out congratulations as we just announced our Coach of the Year, Al Fracassa from Brother Rice in Michigan. What a great season he had. We talked to him earlier this year before he won his 400th game, and after a rough 4-4 start, his team turns it around, wins 6 in a row, and he wins another state championship. And congratulations to Coach Fracassa. Earlier in the show, if you missed it, we talked to Jimmy Rackley in Texas at Judson. He's retiring. So since we had that good old boy Texas twang on the radio show, we gotta get a little bit more Jersey feel right now, being the guy from the east that I am, and we're going to bring in a guy that coached 50 years at North Bergen. Name is Vinnie Ascolese, and he retired as the 3rd winningest coach in the state of New Jersey, and he joins us now to talk about a wonderful career and a wonderful end to that career that we'll get to in a little bit. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, it's been fun. As everybody knows, all of my listeners know, I'm a Eastern PA, Western New Jersey guy, so I've been able to follow your career a little bit. So since it's a national audience, let's kind of set the tone here. You spent 11 years at Hoboken and then the final 39 at North Bergen. Let's talk a little bit about the tradition. Where's North Bergen? What type of school is it? And what kind of tradition did you build there before we get to everything else?
North Bergen is located on the Palisades. It runs from the Palisades to the Meadowlands. It sits above New York. It looks at New York, the skyline, and it's a very diverse community. All types of people, wealthy people, middle-income people, real family-oriented, blue-collar, and then the wealthy. Very, very nice community.
Got a lot of different things going on there. You finish your career with an overall record of 359 wins, only 124 losses, 7 ties, 12 Hudson County titles, 7 state championships, and like I said, 8. Oh, that's, you know what? And I was just going to say that because you had the one at Hoboken too.
Yes,
so
I won one in Hoboken.
Let's talk about the final game, and if you can set the scene for everybody. A rough year. You guys get off to a 1-2 start. It was kind of back and forth, but you get into the playoffs, and all of a sudden you find yourselves at MetLife Stadium playing for a state championship, and it comes down to the final play. Can you kind of set the scene for what happened from there on?
Well, what happens is we threw a pass down the field, great play, called the penalty on us. We started on like the 2, coming out 98 yards away, and we moved the football a little bit, and now we get down up around the 20, and we throw a pass across the middle of the field. Kid runs with the football, they call a penalty, they bring it back, put us on about the 18, and the clock is running, and now we start with the officials. So we're looking at probably at this point now about, we think that should be like a minute 27. And they're going back and forth and going back and forth. And they finally say, all right, we're going to give you a minute and 12. Well, we feel that we're really losing a lot of time. But there's nothing you can do about it. They put the ball in play. We run the football. We run a draw, gain about 18 yards. Kid runs up to the football, spikes it, stops the clock. Now we're down probably a little under a minute. And we come back, and boy throws the ball. We thought it was intercepted, but thank God it wasn't. And we come back and we throw another short pass, a slant over the middle, and the kid gains about 12. Now we get down. The quarterback comes running up the field, spikes the ball again. Now we're down to about 30 seconds, and we throw another pass, incomplete, and we complete a pass to about 8 yards, and now we're down on about the 18, I would think, somewhere in and around there. The 22. And, now we spike the ball, so we have a minute to talk, and we tell the kid what we want him to do. And he comes out, and there's 1 second left on the clock, and he throws the ball, and we have a very, very good receiver. And he throws the ball, and they got 3 guys covering him. And he goes up and comes down with the football, one hand, touchdown.
It was
game over.
Oh yeah, Sergio Garcia is the young man's name who caught it, and I'm going to put the video up on our blog so people can see this. It seems like this isn't a big deal to you. You just named the entire last minute and a half of the game, so I guess it's still pretty fresh in your mind and pretty special.
Oh, I'll never forget it. You can never forget it. Not in that setting.
I mean, again, we've seen all these wonderful sports movies through all of our careers that are just have such a great end. I mean, it's really kind of a Hollywood ending. How
it is.
Now that you're a month past it, a little bit more than a month past it. I mean, what comes to your mind when you think back to that final drive?
Well, I'm sitting here right now, and one of my daughter-in-laws made up a placard, like a big frame, and that's exactly what the newspaper said: Hollywood ending. And it shows the kids jumping all over the field, and unbelievable. I mean, when that happened, I couldn't see if he caught the ball at first. And I'm looking, I'm trying to, and then I see the official put his hands up. I just stood there. I was in shock. I couldn't believe that this happened, that these kids could do that. And I think it goes back to when we first lost our first game. I just told them, I sat and I knew they were very dejected because they had big hopes. They would work out in the morning, 6:30, lifting weights in the winter and running and doing all these things. And I just kept telling them, you believe in yourselves. You have to continue to believe because I believe. Well, and if I believe, and that's how I finished before we went out on the field, right before the game. I just told them that we're believers, we've been believers, and now we have to make this undefeated team believe in us. And we're going to make them believe it.
Yeah, Montclair had come in number 4 in the state of New Jersey before the 14-13 loss, their first loss of the season. Tell me a little bit about the year in and of itself. Obviously, after 50 years, there was a lot of emotion. You had a lot of pomp and circumstances around it. How did you handle, your last season on the sidelines? Because I know it had to be very emotional. Did you kind of just keep it in check, or did you just let your emotions run as you knew this was your last hurrah?
I try to totally keep it in check and just remember every week there's going to be another game, and don't get carried away with yourself and how long you've been here and how long you won't be here. Just go out, play the game, prepare for the game, and get the job done. And that's all I kept preaching to the kids. We must believe. That's all it's about. It's about yourself. If If you don't believe in yourself, where are we going? It takes 11 guys to win a game. It's a funny game. And you have to work it. You got to do it. You got to be dedicated. You got to be at practice on time. You got to be on the field. You got to be on the bus. And you got to do what you're supposed to do.
Let's talk a little bit about the honor you had of coaching your grandson. Same name, goes by Vin. You're Vinnie, but tell me a little bit about that. That had to make some specialness during this last season.
Well, he kept telling me his whole life that I had to coach him. So, we went with that, and I said, all right, I can do this. And I had coached my 3 sons all on state championship teams. And when we lost the first game, he just walked over to me and he said, Pop, he said, don't worry, we'll do it.
Knew something that Pop didn't know. We're talking with Vinnie Ascolese, the longtime coach at North Bergen, retiring after this year. A lot of honors for him this year. The field being named, the stadium being named after you, but the biggest one was a last-second touchdown catch by his wide receiver Sergio Rodriguez with no time on the clock to give him his 8th state title overall. A couple of things that our listeners wouldn't know about is this year was made even a little bit tougher by some health problems with you. So tell us a little bit of how your health is doing. I know you're dealing with some cancer. So was that a motivating factor for the kids? I mean, how did you use that, and what kind of lessons did you try to teach your young men?
Well, 2.5 years ago, I found out that I had a prostate cancer problem, and they felt that they could control it. But I was having some serious problems at the time. And when I first found out, I figured you can't keep this a secret. Some days I'd have to sit down and practice, and I was never like that. So I just explained everything to them. I explained to them about life. In other words, you get one life, you're here one time, and make the most of it. And I'm going to make the most of what I got, and you have to make the most of what you have. And don't worry about little, side steps or whatever's dealt our way. Whatever's dealt our way, we will deal with. And that's why I'm going to give you what I got to give you, and you're going to give me what you have to give me. I can get through what I got to get through, but more, I need you. I need you. Mm-hmm. And I think they responded we never, after that one day that I spoke to them, we never addressed that again, Kids would come to me every day, how you feeling? Hey, man, how you feeling? But I'd always say, I'm great, how about you? And, I'm still going through it, and I'm doing very well, so that's all that matters to me.
Good. Well, let's talk about that. You've got in the news these days. A lot of times we don't see a lot of positives about young people out there. But you've been around this game for 50 years, so you've seen kids come through a lot of generations. What are some of the biggest changes you saw on the sidelines when it comes to student athletes?
I think that I don't think kids have changed hardly at all. I think when I first started, it was a 3-month game, a 4-month game. Now it's an all-year-round activity. If you're going to play the game, you got to prepare. The best kids prepare. They work all the time. They're in the gym lifting. They're running. They're in the summertime. It's 7-on-7s. Getting ready for the fall, and that's how the game has changed. I think the X's and O's don't really change. You're always going to get new formations. You're always the pistol and this and that, but the game itself still comes down to people. And I think the kids today work so hard to be a success that it's hard to believe how hard they really work. Mm-hmm. And it's not just going on in North Bergen, it's going on all over the place. Anybody who has a football program, their kids are doing it. And it's a pleasure to know that kids are willing to sacrifice Nintendo and the iPod and all these things, all these distractions today, and these kids still find time to dedicate. Mm-hmm. And that just makes them better people. I coached the worst years I think I ever coached were in the Vietnam years. The worst problems in those days were, you got to make sure they're not smoking pot. You got to make sure they're not doing heroin. You got to make sure I was in Hoboken. You got to get in the projects. You got to know the cop. You got to know the mothers, the fathers, so that we can protect our kids. And we came through that pretty good. But that was the worst era I think ever. Vietnam era.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough question to answer, and it's probably an unfair question after 50 years, but is there a team or a moment or a game or a couple of players that stand out that when you think back on it, you just get a big old smile on your face?
Well, I think that this last game, there's three things that last game will never go out of my mind. And then I had a team in 1984 that beat everybody we played by 34 points. I never let them play more than a half a game. They tortured me. They'd be arguing with me at halftime. I want to play. No, let the other guys play. And that was a great football team. And when you think of those things, you go back and you say, well, who are those kids? What made that kid what he was? And you look at them today, and those kids, most of them are all very successful men, fathers, businessmen. And you say, wow, no wonder they were so good.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very, very well said. Let's talk about the wind beneath your wings a little bit, because I think one of the things that gets lost when it comes to the coaches I talk about is the time intensity involved with it. The pressure's there, of course, but without a lot of family support, and you've mentioned some of your family there, your wife, your daughters, and all that. What does it mean to you now that your career is finished? What they kind of sacrificed for you to go after this real pleasurable thing that you do called high school football coaching?
Well, I think my wife actually sacrificed a friggin' life for me. I mean, we had 6 children. Now we got 8 grandchildren. They come here whenever they want to eat. She cooks for them. And we've fed players in my home. My wife, when we first started, used to wash the uniforms because the school didn't have enough money. And a couple of times we'd have kids take the uniform home and they were red and white, and the kid would come back with a pink jersey, And then we found out that some of the kids weren't eating before the game, so we sat down and we talked. And my wife said, "Why don't we buy roast beefs, cook them, and give them a roast beef sandwich before the game?" And we started doing that, and she was always there. That if you don't have that kind of support, I don't think you can't really get through it. I don't know how guys do it.
Yeah, no, it's very, very important.
Yeah, we never had booster clubs, because it's not that type of an environment that we live in. Most people work. I mean, we have changed our games to 7:30 because a lot of our parents are workers, and by the time they get home, they couldn't get to the game on time, and so we changed our games so the parents could get there, and that's another thing that's really changed, boy. I can remember when I first started, we would play, we'd have 2,300 people at a game, 1,800 people at a game, and then as years go by, it'll go down. It'll go down to 400 or 500. Then all of a sudden, you get a real good club, and then you got people coming again. But that's one of the changes that parental involvement today is difficult for the parents.
Oh, yeah, it is, and it's difficult for the coaches too. Sometimes you're playing father as well as coach. We're talking with Vinnie Ascolese, the former head coach at North Bergen, a great career, third winningest coach in the state of New Jersey. Let's you went out on a high. You kind of did the Ted Williams thing with the home run in the last at bat with the state championship. Let me ask you a question. I know New Jersey has shied away and has just voted down an overall state champion. You guys have sectional champs in that right now. As a guy that's now off the sidelines. Give me your thoughts on keeping the system the way it is, or moving toward, an overall group champ.
Oh, I think New Jersey. First of all, we got Bosco 2 years now, not the last 2 years, but over the last few years they've been a national champion. But when I read an article not a week or two ago in the Bergen Record, and they're comparing New Jersey and Texas has spring ball, and Alabama has spring ball, and Florida has spring ball, California has spring ball. Well, you don't have to have spring ball, but you have to have. We should at least have one champion for Group 4, 3, 2, 1, Catholic A, at least one.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have that, and they're missing the boat. I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As we wrap up here, Coach, so take yourself ahead a little bit. Now we're getting close to the first couple of days of two-a-days in the fall. What's your life going to be about like? Are you going to sneak around to the field there, or is your wife going to keep you away? What's that going to be like for you?
Well, I have another grandson who's going to be in the 9th grade. So I can go watch him. Then I got another little guy who's playing Pop Warner. So, and I got some granddaughters who are very good athletes. And so I'll have things to do, and some people have been talking to me about maybe doing a little bit of scouting and stuff for them, I don't know. Right now, I have no clue. I want to sit back and relax.
Okay.
Take my life and say, where am I going? But I'm going to do something, that's for sure. I'm not going to sit in a chair.
I was just going to say, after 50 years, you can take the guy out of football, but not football out of the guy. Let's wrap up with this question here. Let's wrap up with a question. Now that it's all said and done, and let's move 5 years down the road, or to some of your former players. How would you like to be remembered by your players, your opponents? When somebody says Vinnie Ascolese, what would you like them to say about you?
I'd like to say that I was always fair. I would give you any advice. I never believed that what you have as knowledge you shouldn't share. And I think being fair to people is more important. Treat people the way that you want them to treat you. And even if sometimes someone throws you an underhanded curveball or something like that, overlook it. Mm-hmm. Because they must have an agenda, and if that's not on your agenda, who cares?
Yeah, well, I think, what you just said there, it sounds easy, but sometimes it's hard, and I think you're right about that. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule today to introduce North Bergen and your program to our listeners. So, Coach, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
You're very welcome, and best of luck in the future with whatever you choose to do, because life is still young for you. And that is head coach Vinnie Ascolese of North Bergen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some Pennsylvania football, one of the greatest all-star games in America. They've played them for 55 years coming up, and all 54 have had at least one player that's played in a Super Bowl. Yeah, it's an amazing stat. We're going to talk about that when we come back. This is High School Football America.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Welcome back to High School Football America as we come down the home stretch. Just a great, fun show tonight with lots of quality coaches. And those of you that follow this show know that you can take the boy out of Pennsylvania, but not Pennsylvania out of the boy. And go into my home state tonight as we welcome in Mike Brennan, who's the head coach at Blue Mountain High School in Pennsylvania. But more importantly, he's been named the head coach, at least for June, more importantly, the head coach of the Big 33 Pennsylvania All-Stars. I think it's America's best all-star football game, Pennsylvania versus Ohio, and the Pennsylvania squad was announced earlier this week, and Mike's here to talk about some of the kids he's going to have the opportunity to coach. Welcome to the show, Coach Brennan.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Oh, absolutely. And I always set the scene on this game because there's one stat that when people hear it, it just blows them away, that there's been 45 Super Bowls, and every Super Bowl has had an alum from the Big 33 game. So I think that kind of sets it up in a real nice way that there's some quality individuals there. But let's talk about it from your standpoint, coming in to be the head coach of this, the best 33, well, it's 34 players now in Pennsylvania. What does it mean to you personally to head up this squad in this big game?
It's an honor and a privilege. It really is. I've been going to the Big 33 game since I was about 9 years old. My dad took me out to Hershey Park Stadium, and it's been a great run. I enjoy coaching football every day, but this is something that's very, very special to me. It's a tremendous opportunity, but it also comes with tremendous responsibility. And I talked to our kids on the phone the last few days about how important it is for us to find a way to beat Ohio this year. So I couldn't be happy to be in this position, and we're going to work really hard the next few months to try to get it right.
For the listeners, this will be the 55th Big 33 All-Star Game. There's been a lot of different formats, Pennsylvania versus U.S., East versus West in the state. They've had Maryland there a couple of years. But the Ohio one seems to, I think, work the best from my standpoint, having seen the game a lot. And again, you've lost 3 straight to Ohio, so that's a big thing. Let's talk about some of the stars you have on this team, because you've got an enormous amount of talent there. And let's just start with your own kid from Blue Mountain who's going to be playing in the ball game, your big offensive defensive tackle. Let's tell the listeners a little bit about Jason Emmerich.
Jason Emmerich is a great player, two-time All-Stater, going to attend Syracuse University. He's an offensive guard type guy, played tackle for us. He's an inside type guy at that level, outstanding pass protector, does everything extremely well. Young kid, only 17 years old, doesn't turn 18 until March, and I really think his best days are ahead of him. I think he'll have a great college career at Syracuse for Coach Marone.
Now, before we get to some of the other players, let's talk about the process. It cannot be easy to pick out the best 34 players in the state of Pennsylvania and Ohio. How does that all take place, and how do you whittle it down to get those top players?
It's a process, and I learned it. I was involved in a committee for 7 years before this year, selecting the offensive line. The Coaches Association picks the team. We were at Penn State for an entire weekend. Basically, we lock ourselves in the football offices at Penn State. They bring us food, and that's about the end of it. We're locked in, and from Friday until Sunday, every video that's sent in from any coach in Pennsylvania who nominates a student athlete is evaluated and ranked and watched again and reevaluated, and you try to narrow it down as best you can to the top 33 players and the top kicker. That is so difficult to do, but our association has done an outstanding job with that. It's really a fair process. It's based on merit. It's based on evaluations in film and evaluations on character from other coaches, from their high school coaches, and it's a tedious process. But we really felt since we've gone through the video process, it's worked extremely well.
Now let's remind our listeners we're talking with Mike Brennan, the head coach of the Big 33 Pennsylvania All-Stars, also the head coach at Blue Mountain High School in Pennsylvania. And you've got some real talent there in the skill positions. A guy that I know pretty well from back in my neck of the woods from Allentown Central Catholic, Brendan Nosovich, is his all-state receiver, leading receiver in Pennsylvania history is there with Kevin Goulias. You've got the state's all-time leading rusher in Russell Shell from Hopewell. So how do you bring this all together when you finally get to the practice field back in coming up in June?
It's funny you said that because the guys you spoke about, Jeff, are the guys that I had circled here. It was one football. And, as I talk to the kids on the phone, we talk about, it's Pennsylvania versus Ohio. We have to be unselfish. We'll try to give every guy an opportunity to make a play. And these are great kids and great players. And they all understand, I think, the importance of Pennsylvania versus Ohio. You said about it being a good matchup. And right now, Ohio has 10 wins and Pennsylvania 9. So in this the 20th meeting, it's almost that even. So to beat Ohio, a state that has a lot more football playing high schools than Pennsylvania, has a great tradition himself, we have to play team football.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I always love to point out when I have the opportunity to brag about this game is the fact that this is, again, the Ohio versus Pennsylvania thing is a big thing, but there's a buddy program, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on away from the field that makes this game even that much more special.
It's a great experience. I was part of it as an assistant coach in 2006. Lots of guys from that roster were made NFL rosters. So just to bring them together, I think it's a great experience, a great learning experience and growing experience for the high school kids. They do have the buddy program, which is outstanding. The whole Big 33 concept is scholarship-based, and the buddy program is outstanding. The kids have an opportunity to talk to and mentor for the week. Someone less fortunate than them, they go to the banquet on Friday night, they go to the game on Saturday. It's really more than just a game, and that's another one of their mottos: more than just a game, and it truly is.
And I started off by talking about the Super Bowl streak, which I consider one of those streaks that is absolutely incredible. I mean, I respect the sport in the South. Texas has some great football, California, Florida, Georgia, you name it. But to literally say one game has had a player in each Super Bowl is phenomenal. Do you guys, as a coaching staff or just Pennsylvanians, talk about that and say, wow, this is something we're really proud of?
It's something every year, Super Bowl time, you get phone calls. I get phone calls, hey, who is it this year? The media usually gets on it quick and prints, for the conference championships, who it may be. And usually we know going to the Super Bowl that it's going to be okay, because there's usually guys, on those rosters, the four teams remaining for the NFC and AFC championship games. But it's every year, it's something that people do watch, and it's incredible.
You mentioned you were up at Penn State, and I hear that the new head coach there, Bill O'Brien, after the selection was in there kind of, making his way through the Pennsylvania woodwork, and I don't want to get into what's going on at Penn State, but did you have an opportunity to hear any of Coach O'Brien speak as it comes to making sure that the Pennsylvania kids stay at Penn State?
He was outstanding. He came in and, my first thought when he left the room was home run Penn State. Young guy, full of energy. I think it's going to be a great fit for Penn State.
Good.
He talked about the importance of recruiting Pennsylvania and getting Pennsylvania products.
Well, let's wrap up with a little bit of a chat about your home team, the Blue Mountain Eagles. You said you're there. You've been there 3 years, starting here in your fourth. So let's tell the listeners a little bit about Blue Mountain football and the tradition that you're building there. What's the school like, the community, and how does football fit into it?
We're a unique community. We're in the southern part of Schuylkill County. When I left Mount Carmel after the 2008 season, I had 9 great years at Pennsylvania's all-time winningest program. And it's almost 2 schools going in different directions. Mount Carmel's a small school that's getting smaller, a landlocked coal region town. Blue Mountain's an up-and-coming growing area. At the bottom, the southernmost part of Schuylkill County, not far from Reading, not far from Allentown, has a ton of growth potential. And I really felt that Blue Mountain had a great 5, 10, 15-year plan, and I plan on coaching for a long time. And we've had success year 5 district titles now in the last 13 years, I guess it is, coming under Coach Chuck Kutz, who is still in the building here and a good friend, a Bucknell grad. He had an outstanding run here, and I'm just trying to keep the program moving forward. But great kids, a great academic school, outstanding leadership, and we're building every day to become an outstanding football program on a consistent year-to-year basis.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight. I guess the Big 33 game will really get the adrenaline flowing for the 2012 season there at Blue Mountain. So best of luck. And, I can say this being a Pennsylvania guy, go beat those Buckeyes. And I only say that not to tick anybody off. I just like the Keystone State.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. That is Mike Brennan, the head coach at Blue Mountain High School, who will lead the Big 33 Pennsylvania All-Stars in June in the game, the 55th annual game in Hershey Park Stadium in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That is Chocolate Town for those of you who don't know. And as we wrap up here, we want to remind all of our parents out there to go to NCSA Athletic Recruiting. Just go to highschoolfootballamerica.com. On the homepage, you'll see the link through their banner to their website. And, parents, this organization can really take the guesswork out of getting a scholarship for your son. They do all kinds of sports, but when it comes to football, they work with all 800 college football programs. The NCSA Athletic Recruiting knows exactly what coaches are looking for what when it comes to things like the measurables and the grades and the test scores. They just know which college coaches are looking for what types of players, and if your child is qualified, NCSA can match him to all the schools that need players. Now, to learn more, just go, as I said, to the homepage of highschoolfootballamerica.com and click on the athletic recruiting banner for NCSA, and you'll be able to go there and fill out your child's free profile. Also want to thank our other sponsors tonight, Blitz Group, our media strategist, blitzgroupllc.com. The High School Rudy Awards, the winner will be announced on Sunday. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com to learn that on Sunday. And we're also being sponsored tonight by the National High School Coaches Association. Learn to be a member at ncsa.com. Want to thank all of our coaches, including our Coach of the Year, Al Fracassa of Brother Rice in Michigan. We want to thank Jimmy Rackley at Judson High School in Texas, Vinnie Ascolese at North Bergen in New Jersey, and Mike Brennan, the head coach of the Big 33 team in the Pennsylvania All-Star Classic between Pennsylvania and Ohio. I want to thank Corey back in Ohio for making sure the show ran smoothly, and we want to thank you for listening tonight. This is Jeff Fisher saying good night and good sports from a snowy Chicago. You've been listening to High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.